Welcome back to G Brands, brought to you by Harvey Norman. Harvey Norman has a huge range of next-gen AI PCs from the world's top brands. Microsoft, HP, Lenovo, Acer and Asus, all powered by Snapdragon. I'm Andy Rowe, and with me, as usual, are two of the very best players the world has ever seen. Two of the smartest rugby pundits to ever speak words. Two men so good-looking that we put this full podcast on YouTube so you can just stare at them. It is All Blacks great Justin Marshall and Wallabies World Cup winner Jeremy Paul. How are you, lads?
That's fucking better. That is way better. Andy killed it.
It's the end of the season.
Yeah, and only one take.
It's only taken him a year, JP, to actually finally get the facts out there as they are facts. That's an incredible intro. Congratulations. I hope you continue to be able to do that next year, and well practiced, because it's probably taken you the whole week to be able to do that and put it on auto cue and do it first take. Amazing.
Yeah, I wrote it on my way home on the plane. I had 3 days to think about it. A lot of public waiting rooms. I don't get the special treatment that Jeremy Paul gets when he goes through the Qantas lounges. You know.
What do you mean? Like, what do you mean you had time to write that? Weren't you like trying to fix the All Blacks like every other pundit in New Zealand right now?
Oh, what's happening, Marshy? Are we sacking Razor or what's happening?
Yeah, look, it's the nature of the All Blacks, though, isn't it? And I guess that's the history that we demand, is that because of that success that we've had, the expectation levels are that we win every test match. And when we drop 3 test matches in a calendar year, it'll be scrutinised. So, you know, that's obviously heavy as the head that wears the crown. And so you have to wear that, and that's the responsibility of the All Black coach and the captain, and then it filters down to the players. So you're always going to have to wear that, and that's also why we have been successful, because we can't just move on from a loss to any nation in the world. We have to be critical. We have to ask the questions of why that happens, and that's New Zealand, and that's why we actually are pretty good at the game. We're always 1 or 2 in general in the world, and that's because of the demands that our public, our media, and even players throughout the country demand.
Yeah, I suppose it's not just the losses, right? I think a lot of the chat's been about the play as well. Like, for example, what about that crazy stat against Wales on the weekend?
Rain Man's turned up.
Well, no. I think it was around the 60-odd minute. It was like 188 tackles. So I believe it was 78% possession to 46 tackles to Wales. And they missed 31 as well. So I think there's a lot of backlash too about, here's all this possession. The score only ended up, I think, was a 52-26, something like that. So where's the play? So why we got so much possession against a side that's only won one game in 2 years? Like, where's the progression?
I think the other side of it, Rain Man, and it would have been the 60th minute. You can't say think, because you'll know it just comes out. So when you blurt it out, it's absolutely right. So don't doubt yourself. Please don't doubt yourself. But the other side of it, off the back of that, is how they allowed Wales to have a scoreline like they did at 23-21 with only that amount of possession and having to make that amount of tackles and score 4 tries against them. Like, they shouldn't. They should have been that fatigued from having no ball and making that many tackles. I think nearly every entry into the 22, to a degree, which was very limited for Wales, given they only in the entire game had 33% of the ball, they nearly scored. And they've been struggling to score tries, but they seem to be able to put 4 on with consummate ease against the All Blacks. And I bet that's probably part of the equation as well. It's like, righto, you've got the opposition absolutely on the rack. They can't get their hands on the ball. They're dysfunctional in a way, and yet when they enter into the 22, they were scoring these tries, and they were impressive tries as well. So, they made Wales look better than they have for a very long time, and that was the feeling after the game. Walking around the stadium, going in, doing the hard work at the corporate hospitality that I do, for the love of the game, and talking to the punters. Like, the Welsh were massively optimistic and really pleased with their team and proud of their team for the way they fronted up against, the number 2 team in the world. And You know, they haven't been like that for a very long time. So that they were massively impressed with the performance of Wales. And that was like, well, they haven't been that way for a long time, but they felt that way against the All Blacks at the weekend.
Yeah, I love their realignment. I thought Wales, as soon as they got an opportunity, their players worked incredibly hard to create time and space on the outside. Like, you could just see them realigning and get themselves into a bit of depth, which allowed for Rodgers. What has he got? A hat trick, I think, was it just before half time? And again, you know, that aerial battle. I think the aerial battle has like neutralised everything, where even the worst team can still gain territorial advantage. It's like it's remarkable how it keeps teams in. But again, I suppose it's, look, you got losses, you got a game like Wales, and then I think the other big talking point is selections, right? Like in selections where, you know, a lot of noise is coming out about, you know, certain players and why they're playing there. And then the whole debate, will you open up to getting players overseas? So just, you know.
Oh, you've thrown a few things on the table.
Well, no, this is the third one, right? Selection. The third one is selection. That's the big one. And actually, Andy Rowe, of all people, incredibly smart. Like, tell Marshy, mate, your puff of brilliance with respect.
I feel like you're gaslighting me now,
I will. Mate, I was like, wow, this is the smartest thing you've ever said over dinner. Like,
really building
mate,
up.
tell us.
Should we wait and have it at the end of the episode so everyone just stays listening?
No, mate. No, mate.
Want the big
they want to
reveal
hear it now. They want it now.
Well, you know I'll buckle under the pressure. What we were talking about, right? So opening up to overseas players and the reasoning why you would for the All Blacks. And one of the things that I was saying was that why would you bring Richie Mo'unga back on a $2 million a year contract when you could spend that money at grassroots or on NPC? Equally, if you've got players like Beauden Barrett or players like Aaron Smith or players that are currently in the team that are worth absolute premium on the market, why wouldn't we have Japan or France or someone else paying those salaries, playing in their domestic competitions, while we use that money to grow the game at home and create a stronger domestic competition? Because what we're always whining about is all the reasoning behind not releasing the All Blacks, not allowing All Blacks to play for the All Blacks while they were overseas, is because it would weaken the local competition. But then, on the other hand, we're always crying in New Zealand rugby because we don't have enough cash.
No money.
Our players can bring us cash in a roundabout way by playing overseas and freeing up that cash for grassroots development, because at the moment, our grassroots is supposedly the issue.
Well, Andy, that's incredibly intelligent of you, but when we were having a beer after our podcast in London, that's what I was saying to you. So you've obviously somehow, I don't know whether it's in your jet lag, I don't know, tired zone that you get into, have thought that you came up with it in your own head somewhere.
Mate, I was shocked.
Exactly
I was like,
what I was
wow,
saying to you.
that's so, mate, that's really smart.
Marshy, don't even try and claim that, mate. It
is something that I have said for a very long time, and at the end of the day, what you're saying with Richie Mo'unga, not Mo'unga, is that basically when he comes back, you're not paying him. Well, you are paying him $2 million if he comes back in a capacity where he's having to play the domestic calendar. But if you just bring him back to play for the All Blacks, you only pay him to play for the All Blacks, and that then again releases that pool of money that he would be using up to play throughout the full calendar in New Zealand, and it totally makes sense. And if you want to continue to be able to use, and I also said to you in that pub, just to help you with what you've just said, was that there would have to be a criteria base to be able to do that. So, you know, maybe you've played 5 years of Super Rugby, you've done your time, you've done your due diligence in New Zealand, you've got skin in the game. And you know, like to a degree, like the Australian model where it was the Ghetto law, whatever, you'd have to pay a certain amount of tests or a certain amount of time in the domestic calendar to be able to be released for the rest of the world to pay your general salary, because you don't want young, aspiring, up-and-coming players being able to do that, because that would be harmful for the game, regardless of how much money you got to put in the grassroots. We cannot compete with the likes of France and Japan, monetary-wise.
Do you think though it would be harmful?
Just quickly before we move on.
No, I'm not. I'm on this.
I was just going to say for any of those media outlets, Planet Rugby, Champagne Rugby, whoever you are, if you're listening and watching to this, make sure that you do know and you do quote that it was me that came up with that idea. Marshy never said that in the fucking pub whatsoever. And my name's Andy Rowe, if you're wondering. Make sure you give me the byline, and it's my financial plan to save New Zealand rugby.
I don't know about that much, because if you look at the Springbok model, right, like, and you're looking at players that hadn't played for the Springboks, that have gone over, and it almost, their local competition now, their grassroots, is almost like this massive breeding ground for as many players. Because I then look at depth and positions, and take those three players, Mackenzie, Bodie Barrett, and Mo'unga. Like, now you've got three guys vying for that position. So I feel that, I don't know if you can put, I think one of the Wallabies issues with the Gilito law was we could only open it up to a certain amount of players that had played for a certain amount of years or a certain amount of tests. I'm now looking at it and going, no, just open it up. Like, for me anyway in Australia, like, I'm thinking, open it up, man. Like, is that Crispy, the champion as well, right? Test debut, couldn't get a start anywhere in Australia. Went away, comes back at 29 and has a test debut in 29 and absolute cracker test debut it was. So a lot of fiddling around, but I just don't know if it's going to work if you put restrictions on it.
Look, it's interesting that we're talking about this though, because why are we talking about it? Do you feel, from what you've seen in this end of year tour, because we also had the All Blacks 15 away, who were incredibly successful on their games that they played, beat England twice, and obviously won their game against the Barbarians. And there was some real talent that emerged. In fact, some of that talent ended up going into the All Blacks due to injury. So, you know, there is depth there. So why are you feeling still that we need to go searching overseas for players? Or are you sort of more talking about the fact that you feel that those players need to go to keep the talent in New Zealand? With your genius idea that you didn't come up with.
My issue is not around the depth that we've currently got, because I do think that All Blacks do have a reasonable amount of depth, and we rolled out almost a B team this weekend, and we still put 50 on Wales, and we have the All Blacks 15 that's going really well as well. My issue is around the finances in New Zealand rugby and putting money back into the game at grassroots, and there being an opportunity to do that, and using our biggest brand to do that, being the All Blacks, putting value on our players through the All Blacks, and that money then being used that would be paying them in a domestic competition to bring up the next crop, and making sure that we've got a pipeline.
I agree with that, but also too, I've always been absolutely against this. Like, if you're not in the under 21s program or under 20s program, and as soon as you're out of that, you're in the abyss. Like, you're never looked at. In Australia, take the Queensland Reds. 34 out of their 36 players, like last year in the 24 season, not this year in 25, 34 out of 36 had come through the Red system. That means they'd played schoolboys, under 19s, under 20s. That means no player over the age of 21 has ever been looked at in Queensland in the last couple of years. What I'm getting at is it opens up then players that aren't seen and develop later can then go overseas. They can go and experience life. They actually become like a far better player because of their experience as well. I just believe and when I say we, I'm saying this from Australia's point of view as well. And let's also look at the South African model that is arguably working the best, where they have players that play in, I believe, a lower competition like Japan, and are still the world's best players. Like, any player that's come back and played for the Wallabies that has come back from Japan, sorry, you've been underdone. Like, you just haven't looked like world class. But whereas South African players have come back and they look seamlessly like they're the number one player in the world. So, look, I just feel that we, as both our nations, how we've had this.
Don't put us in with you, mate.
Well, no, I think
You're
we're both in a
15th
very
in the
similar
world.
thing in terms of depth, though, right? Everyone's always looking for depth. I think South Africa could seriously have two sides in the top 10.
Marshy, can I put it back on you? The same question that you asked me, like why are we having this discussion about opening it up?
Yeah, well, I think obviously when we are struggling for depth in a jersey, the natural thing to do is to gravitate towards, well, who's still playing, who has been an All Black before that could fill that void, because we are struggling to find somebody within our own country. And that, I think, is why people start to look at, hey, if Cam Roigard is out, why can't we get Aaron Smith? And he's still world class, and he's the type of player that, being the competitor he is, he would slot back seamlessly into the All Blacks, regardless of where in the world he's playing. So that's probably because it's a natural thought process for people to go, he's played over 100 tests. He's played 100 tests for the All Blacks. So, he's well and truly qualified to be able to have said that he's done his time in New Zealand and put a lot of, like I said, skin in the game. So I think that's the issue. It's like, well, if we were at the moment to lose both Beauden Barrett and Damien McKenzie, who starts at 10? There you go. You tell me.
No, that's a great point. What about Lester Fainganuku as well? He's come back because he's had to make himself eligible. He easily walked into that team and should have been picked, right? And should not have had to have given up the pound. Because let's not forget about the sacrifice in terms of the financial remuneration for players. So by opening it up as well and having these really, really tough conversations where you can say, no, look, go over there and enjoy life. Maybe a different environment away from the New Zealand, public, away from the New Zealand type of rugby to go and experience will open up that player as well. And I think Lester Fainganuku is a really, really good example.
I think I can already feel the keyboards rattling. So
Rattle away.
Will be saying, rattle away. We'll be saying, well, Ruben Love. The only reason I mentioned that as an example is because the All Blacks obviously don't see him as a 10. They're playing him at fullback. So it's like if they're seeing him as a fullback, they don't see him as a 10. Shifting him in there when he hasn't played any rugby there would be a risk, because you play against South Africa or France or England at the moment, those top teams in the world, and you've got a guy that's has had no time in that jersey. There's a risk element to it. So it's like, if we were to lose our two incumbents, who's the next guy that's been playing 10 regularly in the country that steps into that jersey? So it's just that I think that's why the conversation's always there and is always going to be there. But it's worked for the All Blacks in the past. But again, the money drain continues to be a problem, because the rest of the world have that ability with stronger currencies to attract our players, and that's just reality.
There are some good players coming through, and one of the big stories of the All Blacks this year, Marshy, has been Fabian Holland. He's World Breakthrough Player of the Year. What has he been the success story for you for the All Blacks in 2025, or has there been any others that stick out?
Yeah, he's a great example of, he's a story, isn't he? Because of the fact that it's a great story. Saw rugby from Holland, decided that he loved the game, left his family behind, came to New Zealand, went to school, started playing rugby just because of what he'd seen on YouTube. And he probably was in his wildest dreams thinking maybe he might get a provincial contract one day. Gets that, goes past that into playing for a Super Rugby team with the Highlanders, and then he's an All Black. And it's a great story for anybody out there that's looking at rugby and saying, can I climb Everest and become an All Black out of nowhere? Well, he's a prime example of the fact that you can. And I think then that he's done that, and qualified for the All Blacks, and they've put him in, they've seen his talent. He's just absolutely, he's just growing into that, and it's hard for a man of that size to grow. But anyway, he's growing into the jersey brilliantly, and I just love the fact that because he's probably come from that background of just having to work for everything and actually train himself to play and know rugby, you just see him out there on the field, and he's just got a great work ethic. He's there basically for 80 minutes. He tackles. He's got a big engine. He's good at the set piece. And for him to come into the All Blacks and fill the boots that he has, like a Sam Whitelock type, situation, and lock down with the All Black captain Scott Barrett and look not out of place. I think that's the big thing. That's why people have been so impressed with him. He hasn't really had any fluctuations in the way that he's played. He's just super consistent. And for a guy that young, incredible. He is a massive success story. And yes, I do think he is the big success story of the All Blacks this year.
The All Blacks obviously going to South Africa next year. Do you think they're going to have the firepower to compete in South Africa against this South African side? Do they have the firepower at the moment, and could you see them developing the firepower with what they've got?
Well, very good question for once, Andy, and you haven't stolen that from anybody. You've actually made that up yourself, so I'm impressed. Look, how good is it though? The greatest rivalry. I'm glad that you brought it up, because it's worthy talking about, like how the Springbok beast just keeps growing. The machine just keeps rolling on. Adversity, they're getting red cards. They just don't care. They put guys that usually play in the midfield on the side of the scrum. They're just impressive as. So the challenge is incredibly daunting to answer your question for the All Blacks. But in answer to it, I'd say, yeah, we do have the firepower. I really liked what Jamie Joseph did with that All Blacks 15 in the UK at the end of this year. Some guys that have been on the radar got the opportunity to pull on a black shirt, not the All Black one, but under his guidance, they were very, very impressive, because you've got to have that depth to be able to contend with the midweek games. And they are tough challenges, those midweek games, because of the depth in South African rugby at the moment. You can't have a faulty tour where you're targeting the test, but at the same time, there's this infection within the entire tour of midweek games being dropped, because that just hits confidence levels, and it creates criticism. So you've got to be trying to target winning everything while you're over there. So yeah, I feel, look, are the All Blacks as good as South Africa at the moment? Hell no, they're not. And Wellington showed that. They did compete at Eden Park, which is a positive, but it was a different style of game, because you got a completely different beast in Wellington when Lassie made the changes he made. But yes, I'm already fired up about this tour. I'm already excited about it, and I certainly feel that the All Blacks are capable of going there and replicating what we did in 1996. So the incomparables in '96 will be very much supporting this team going to South Africa next year.
Just on that as well, I was over in the UK following the All Blacks, and I did the All Blacks travel and hospitality tours, and it was so mate, it was so much fun. I was so, interviewing players, former players like Christian Cullen, who was on that South African tour, and JK was over there as well, a few other big names, and interviewing the All Blacks in front of the tours as well. And they have just already opened up tickets. They're selling tickets. So quick plug for All Blacks travel and hospitality. Go and check them out, because it's not just the games that you go to. They put everything on throughout the week. So imagine going to South Africa, going to all the games, going to every game, and then also safaris, wine tours.
I'm trying to get on it. I'm trying to go on the tour with you guys. Look, I'm trying to jump on the back of it as an ex-Wallaby. What a tour! Wow, man. It's amazing. They bring. Finally, they've connected the dots, right? Where these tours, midweek tours, old school. Oh.
It is time now for this week's Harvey Norman Next Gen Moment of the Week. Harvey Norman has the latest in AI PCs, Microsoft, HP, Lenovo, Acer, and Asus, all powered by Snapdragon. And this week, we're talking about adaptability and evolution, aren't we, Marshy?
We certainly are, Andy. And you talk about adaptability and evolution. Straight away, what springs to mind for me is Lewis Rees-Zammit from Wales. Like the fact that he was a genuine superstar in the making, and then make the massive call to go to America and just try his hand playing American football in the NFL. And what a decision that was. He ends up at the Kansas City Chiefs. and rubbing shoulders with the likes of Patrick Mahomes, who is a genuine superstar in that part of the world, being able to be part of that environment and being in the mix there. And so all of a sudden he finds himself in a place that he's never been before, recognises that that's not going to be successful, but he gave it a go, good on him. So then he has to then adapt again, which he did. He goes back to rugby, Bristol Bears. He gets selected again for Wales because he wants to play for Wales. And I felt coming off the bench, he got his opportunity against Argentina there, then started against Japan, and then at the weekend against the All Blacks, just showed his true class. It took the All Blacks coming to town for him just to fire up and show his true quality. A couple of exceptional touches, showed his speed, some footwork, and then the try that he scored, he basically got his entire body outside of the line, but he managed to control the ball, American football style, hold on to it and bang it down over the line. So, adaptability, and he will evolve. Lewis Reed Salmon. He'll only get better for the more tests he plays. Great to see him back in rugby.
Just like your next-gen AI PC, which adapts to how you use it. At 45 trillion operations per second, it learns your habits and tailors your experience to keep you flowing. For a smarter work and play, head into your local Harvey Norman and meet your match. Should we talk about Australia? 48-33. 4 losses on tour.
Yeah, 10 all year, right? I think the worst in Wallaby history, actually, 10 losses in a calendar year. So, what have I always said, Andy? In terms
you don't
of
care about losing.
I don't care about results. I just care about the process. And everyone who is currently giving it to Joe Schmidt and saying, what are you doing? I just love how these experts all of a sudden, you should be selecting this person, you should be selecting this person. Everyone is losing the plot around Joe Schmidt when this guy has done more for Australian rugby than we could possibly have ever imagined. He has brought the side from 2023, probably the lowest point in Rugby Australia's history, after not making the quarterfinals, first time ever in a Rugby World Cup. Absolutely decimated throughout the media, through Australia, sponsorship, the TV ratings. You're looking at it's all about the pay TV deal, right? You're looking at a 30% reduction when we're looking at re-signing. Everything just down. Joe Schmidt comes in, completely changes the whole Wallaby fabric. He debuts 17 players, the highest since 1956 or something, 50 odd years. He then starts to get a bit of momentum, and then we start winning these incredible games. And that started in last year's autumn test. Now, let's not also forget where England were last year, where they lost, lost 5 out of the 6 games, I believe. But were arguably in every single game, right? And then a year later, they're the world's best. I'm not saying that's where the Wallabies are going to be, but I just want everyone just to understand and take a deep breath here. This guy's Sir Joe Schmidt has been and should go down as easily one of the most incredible coaches we've had.
I think probably, JP, it's the disappointment of where this side could have gone for me, and I'm not quite sure why it's not clicking the way it should, because I see the sides that are being named, and there is some incredible talent in there, and I certainly feel there's some real steel in the forward pack now. But if I look at the second and third tests against the British and Irish Lions, and arguably one of the best sides that the Lions have ever been able to put together, and the performances in those 2 test matches to the performances that we've seen since then, I just don't feel that there's been enough growth from those 2 test matches. There's been obviously a lot of disappointment. The one highlight being that fantastic win at Ellis Park, which was just out the gate, out the box, and orchestrated by Rabs. Yes, Rabs.
Yes.
That was incredible. But then, in the mix of all of that, this huge expectation in Perth. About probably not going to win at Eden Park, but you wait to Perth, and then obviously the All Blacks pretty emphatic on that day. and then not being able to even jag one win, a loss to Italy. That's if you're going to win one on this tour, you've got to take that scalp with the greatest respect to Italy. Australia are higher ranked than Italy. I don't know if they are now, but they were.
Still 7.
And so, yes, so my point is, there was real promise from those last 2 Lions tests in particular, but that promise hasn't been fulfilled. And you have to be honest and you have to be brutal. And it's not just Joe Schmidt, because I don't feel the players have supported his selections and stepped up. That their form hasn't basically kicked on as well. That this team hasn't reached its potential. And you've got to say, why? Why haven't you? And the players have to take as much as the blame as what the coach does, because they're the ones out there with the boots on.
And they never take the blame, do it? Like we always the coach always cops it, does it? Look, mate, you nailed it. It's personnel. Look, second, third test, Will Skilton, mate. Like just one player and his dominance in that third test, right? Like so, here you have a player that we haven't seen stand up on a test arena like this before, and what he did for the rest of the forward pack wasn't just his performance, but what he does by bringing players along. You also look at another player, I believe, Tate McDermott. Like once we lost him, I thought his contribution off the bench all year, again, just shows how important those reserves are, right? Like, and how much, like, my God, one of the best games he played was on the wing. When he came on the wing, thought another player we missed was Tom Wright. I thought when he did his ACL in Cape Town, he was very instrumental in that Johannesburg win. Like we were down 21-0, did not deserve after 20 minutes, did not deserve to be in that game. Tom Wright's counter-attack in a lot of those. Like I thought in a lot of those situations in that Joburg win. Then obviously the Argentina game as well, where we won in the 86th minute at home, and then we just lost that sort of second one as well, where we should have, again, we started to do these really poor starts, right? Like, and then that's when the discipline side of things, and it's not, when we say discipline, it's actually you're under pressure. You're put under pressure by the opposition purely, and what it does is it causes cracks, and you will make mistakes and you'll infringe. And what we saw was then the inexperience of this team. Like we look at someone like Joseph Suaalii, who is, big marquee player, $1.6 million player. He's still 21, man. Like had our major issues at 10, still at 9 too, right? Like we're still picking guys like Jake Gordon, who I believe is playing excellent footy. Please don't get me wrong, but we either had him or Nick White, right? Like we didn't give sort of, and when Tate got his first start, he goes and snaps his hamstring. So, I honestly feel, Marshy, like a lot of the reasons behind our decline in results was due to personnel and not our lack of depth. Like we really struggled in the depth department, and particularly when not being able to get those players released from overseas. So, for me, moving forward, we have to create these relationships and have this incredible understanding of overseas markets and how they operate and how Australian players can and cannot be released and when they can and cannot be released. Again, I also think fatigue, mate. Look, I really do. I think a lot of these young guys have not played the intensity of the footy week in, week out. Like they buckled. They really did. But to me, I feel this is when, as a young player, you're depositing money into the bank and you can withdraw that later on. Like you're fueling up. And so to me, that's, you got to take these losses. You got to understand the intensity. What I can say though, mate, and what I'm incredibly pleased with regards to progression, yes, in terms of results, we didn't get as many results as what we did last year. But in terms of progression, we have been in the game. Like, what hurt us with those two last results, right? When you get over 46 and 49 points. Like, you cannot allow teams to destroy you like that in the last 5 to 10 minutes. You have to be like the Islands. Mate, they had, 4 yellow cards, a red card, and still they were in the fight to the 80th minute. And that's what a top tier world-class team does. They fight for 80 minutes or 85 minutes, whatever it might be. And that's what this Wallaby side has to learn. Like they have to learn, they have to keep building that resilience. But you don't build resilience in your second year of playing for the Wallabies or your first year of playing for the Wallabies or even your third year. Like, I just feel like these players and the experiences that they've received this year and last year, I feel will make them better for it next year. And again, like having, certain positions in incredibly important positions like your 5'8" and your halfback, your decision makers, making sure that we pick the right players because we used I think it was like 7 different combinations this year, 9-10. Like 9-10, mate. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, I take your point, and it's a valid one. When you take those players out of the mix, it has an effect, particularly when they are X-Factor style players because they create. And around that, other players get inspiration and energy. And a guy like Tom Wright, you take him out of the mix, who I agree with you. He opens the game up and he sees it in a different way. And then players around him, they get motivated by what he's doing. Equally with Tate McDermott and obviously Will Skelton with his physicality. Other players get tougher because he's tough. So it's
yes,
like, right,
he's enormous.
So I understand that. Yeah, I think about the All Blacks. I think about the All Blacks with their fluctuations in form and their inconsistency this year, their up and downs. And if you took, let's just say one guy, Will Jordan, out of that back line, that has a massive effect on the All Black back line because of what he does and the type of player he is. So it's a good example of describing that it becomes harder when you take quality players out and particularly when you haven't got the depth and players are having to play out of position, like that's the fact that you haven't got a genuine second fullback in Australia. You're having to put wingers to fill those shoes. That's not going to be easy. It's going to be interesting for me to see how smooth the transition is from Joe to Les Kiss. I quite like to think that fresh eyes overlooking this Australian team. He would have had the luxury of sitting back, and I know he's still coaching Super Rugby, Les Kiss, is to be able to see how this calendar year has unfolded under Joe Schmidt, the players that he's utilised, and he'll probably have a fresh idea of how he wants this team to take that next step that I'm talking about. And I well and truly think they're capable of doing that. And it's not saying that Les Kiss is going to be better at it than Joe Schmidt, that automatically he's a better coach. It's more sometimes just fresh eyes and new ideas just help an environment that's been created by another coach. And that's the key. He steps in and gets a changing shed straight away. And this Wallaby team reaches its potential because as much as we take the piss out of you, mate, I just love it when Australian and Wallaby rugby's strong and competitive because the world, in terms of rugby, is better for it.
Oh, look, it was incredible to see around the world when the Wallabies started competing for, like, just how everyone's like, the Wallabies always became everyone's second team because it was like, here they are, they've been losing for so long, yay, they're winning. Like, we go the Wallabies.
Everyone loves an underdog.
But look, if you break down the French game though, just very quickly, like there were 4 opportunities in the first half, right? Look, so the first 2 times we scored with Fezler in the first 2 minutes, we took that opportunity. Angus Belt, when he made that incredible break, scored that try. But then it was like 4 other, like Wilson got into the red zone, popped the ball up to Nick Frost, he knocked it on 2 meters out, right? And then you had Wilson made another break in the red zone 22 where he got counter-rucked. We lost that ball. Len Ikitau hit it up, I think, around the 24th minute, and Tupu, missed the clean out, and we got penalised. So same thing in the second half, mate. Same thing when I think Carlo Tizzano he did this awful clean out and got penalised. Don't you know those real coach killers when you're in the red zone? It wasn't like the All Blacks, but we had enough opportunity to win 7 games, right? Like when you get that much opportunity and. But again, to me, it's not just the opportunity though. It's that hardness in defence. Like again, tries will win you games, but defence will win you championships. And it's just to allow that many points in, right? Like it's sort of really diminished the hard work that they have done, and it's lost a few fans unfortunately because they just think, oh, here they go again. But I just cannot just say to all Wallaby fans and Wallaby supporters, I can't say to you enough that mate, just stick with them. Stick with them, man. We're not far off. Like to be in the 76th minute. So take the 74th minute. We do this incredible Nick Frost at the back of the line out. Bang, we win that ball down. Harry Potter gets into 22. We go around and we for the next 2 minutes, we apply pressure. Finally get a couple of penalties. Nasser takes a quick tap. Boom, gets over. 41-31. Here we are. There's 4 minutes left in the game. We're back in it, and and we had absolutely no right. Right? We had no right to be in it. And I just feel that we've taken steps forwards. I don't think people see what I see with respects to the progression, but that's what I like. That's how I diagnose things. I look at the opportunity that we get, but again, we all agree though, all Wallaby fans is we do have to defend better, and we do have to stop teams scoring so much.
So it's Dr. Rainman now diagnosing things. Love it.
You asked.
Andy Farrell talking about coach killers. Oh my gosh. 4 yellows, a red card. Marshy, what was your take on that situation? Because they were down to 12 Ireland at one point?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were. It was one of the most bizarre games I've ever seen. Right from the opening of that test match, they had this intensity about it, which was brilliant, and you could feel that there was tension there, and the crowd certainly, I guess, entered into that, and the atmosphere just looked absolutely incredible. And then this bizarre game unfolded in front of our eyes, and the amount of times that the TMO was involved, the bizarre, again, the situations of yellow cards and red cards and upgrades, and it was just, I actually don't know how to describe it, to be perfectly honest. And the fact that Ireland was still in the fight, I would imagine that Ussie's not that happy about the fact that they weren't able to really put Ireland properly away, given that they were the ones suffering the majority of the carnage that was going on out there. So he's probably slightly annoyed. Look, he'd be absolutely thrilled that they've won the test match, and it's never easy to win at Aviva in Dublin. But I really just, I know we're going to get into this conversation. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the game, JP, but I do want us to have a chat about the state of the game at the moment with cards, because they are having a huge effect on the spectacle we're seeing out there.
See, this was actually a game where I thought the cards were warranted. This is look, not the red card in terms of Ryan. For me, the number one thing with head knocks, we are penalising players for the what ifs and not the whats. If Malcolm marks, and you've said this over and over again, Marshy, no HIA, no head knock.
No.
Mate, to get a red card, you should be knocked out. Pure and simple. You should be out of the game. That one, yeah. But when you look at how dominant the South African, the Springboks pack was, in terms of that scrummaging.
16 scrums they won. 16 scrums.
I actually, when I was doing my research for the game, it was about the 8th minute was the first scrum, and I went, ooh, that was a big scrum. And they actually got a penalty first scrum. Advantage. But then again, as South Africa do, they run the ball and they ended up running out the advantage because they got over halfway. And I was like, ooh, this is going to be a big day in the office for Ireland. But then that's how smart the Boks were. They kept taking scrums. No, we'll take a scrum. And like I said, in terms of game management, right? Just before halftime, because they got another penalty, there's Rassie down on the sideline. Changes the 2 props. I was see, Farrell should have actually counteracted that, right? He should have put on 2 new props as well. If you were game management, you should have realised your front row was under the pump, and you're going to replace him anyway, at halftime. And that just shows how incredible Rassie is all over the game, right? He's just all over it, but that's what the Boks did, mate. They did this massive set piece. It was just we are dominating them here, set piece after set piece after set piece. And it was just, I felt they were warranted. I really did. And to your point, Marshy, Ireland, Oh my God, how were they still in that fucking game? Like, that was just that Crowley. You know what? That Crowley effort, the 68th minute, where Cheslin Kolbe does that little chip over, Crowley gets the ball to get away from Cheslin Kolbe for starters, right? Not only did he do that, punt it down, he then, 1 minute later, when Mooney tried to, like, jump over someone did a chip over, I think it was Ryan, did a little chip over, and then Mooney, fingertips, and Crowley was just, like, I think that summed up the effort and just the desperation of the Irish. I thought they were incredible to be in that game.
Marshy, when we were at the pub earlier, before we came on here, JP actually had a really good idea. Do you want to tell him your really good idea about changing the game and improving the game?
Oh, no, this is, I remember.
Just one of the ideas, because there were a lot of ideas. It's the main one that I told you.
I know I wasn't definitely sitting with Marshy and he didn't tell me this, but look, I actually, there's many different discussions about TMO and when they should come in. We've seen the Cody Taylor, we've seen, all sorts of different situations. For me personally, number one, the HI, like if it's going to be a red card with the head, you've got to be knocked out. Like if there's got to be an actual situation where you've knocked somebody out. Like I think, otherwise it's a yellow card. And for me, the big thing is if the referee doesn't see it, like so he has to call to the TMO underneath, like he goes, check that knock on for me, or check that forward pass for me, and they've got like maybe 3 to 5 phases. If they don't come back to him in 3 to 5 phases, as Andre Watson used to say, play on. That's it, mate. I don't think TMO should be able to just come in. The referee has to call them in.
Not bad.
If the
on the run.
The TMO cannot just come in.
They have to be on the run.
They have to be called in by the referee.
Run. So the referee has to see it, where it's like, check that for me. If he doesn't see it, he doesn't play on.
Okay, well, I'm going to go to another level, and because we're doing it here live and nobody's sitting in a pub with me, they can't steal my ideas. So what I think we should do, because I'm incredibly frustrated by this, and everyone must be, the amount of cards that we have seen throughout this autumn series is absolutely absurd. It's happening in every game, affecting every game. I think the only game possibly that didn't see a card was the game between England and Argentina yesterday. So,
but should there have been a card? Should there have been a card with Curry?
Yeah, well, there probably should have been one with Curry. Yeah, so I know,
leg breaker. Jesus.
It's early in the morning here in London, at the morning after the game. But I can tell you, if you're picking up any device at the moment, it is going viral. What happened after the game? On the field and then in the tunnel, between the England and Argentina players. There was some real angry Argentinian players and coaching staff around what happened on the field there. So,
can I just give my quick take on that? I think it should be like NRL. Like, you cannot attack a kicker like that, and I think that is a dog shot. That is an absolute dog shot, because you know that kicker is completely defenseless. He's kicked the ball and you've smashed him. You've hosed him. It's an easy shot to hit on someone.
Protect the kicker.
It's a dog shot.
Yeah, I'm with you. Protect the kicker.
You've broken the guy's leg. That's defense. You can't do that, man. Like, that's bad.
It didn't attack the legs.
It is. I agree. You know what? And late tackles are worse in the game. Like me not being a grudge holder. Let's go all the way back to
2003.
Come on, champ.
Rugby World Cup, where
4 more years.
Exactly, where I get hit late tackle by George Smith, unexpecting, deliver a pass, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, bang, and I get hit by George Smith in the ribs, breaks my rib, penalty. And I'm out of the Rugby World Cup. No yellow card, no consequences for Australia except a penalty, and yet my World Cup's done and dusted. So I told you don't.
And so is New Zealand.
Hold a grudge, but it is the worst, because you're not expecting to be hit, and so you don't brace. So
I had that
you're
with
actually
Noel
the most
Maxwell
vulnerable
once.
you can be, and Yeah, and that happened in that situation there as a kicker. You know, when you're in that position, you got one leg in the air and you're only being supported by your other, and you get hit by a late shot, you just get exposed to any form of injury, whether it's midsection, whether it's knees, whether it's ankle, whatever. And that proved to be the case where he busted his leg. So, yeah, that is an act of foul play, but it's not going to go very well when it doesn't get dealt with appropriately. And then I think that's what Argentina felt, that Tom Curry deserved a yellow card because their player had to leave the field, which then, because they'd used all their substitutes, meant that they couldn't bring anybody else on, and they had to play when they were chasing the game, and they were in the game and had a chance of winning it. They had to do it with 14 men, yet England still had 15 men on the field defending. So there's something wrong there. Do you not agree?
Oh,
massively.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Particularly, yeah, that in itself too, right? In terms of the act of illegal play, they should have then been able to substitute another player on. So the ramifications of not only missing that, like from a legal point of view of the act itself, but also to detrimental to the result of the game. Yes, double whammy.
Oh, yeah, I've got an idea.
Oh, what's
I've
your
got an
idea,
idea.
Marshy?
So I just feel, what I feel, and I want to make this clear, is what we are not seeing in the game is any blatant acts of violence anymore.
Correct.
The players are not out there looking to harm each other. They're not punching each other. They're not standing on the other players' heads or kneeing them. You know, that's just not happening in the game anymore. What we're getting is these situations of inaccuracy at collision, and it's happening as an attacker, as a defender, as a cleaner. Players are trying to get low, and in a millisecond, they're just getting it wrong. And I understand trying to protect head contact, that's fine. But at the end of the day, these players are not going out there. Their coaches are telling them, we do not want cards out there. We get cards, we leak points, we get under pressure. So the players are aware of that. They're not stupid. They're not going out there to get it wrong. They are sometimes just getting it wrong because the game's complicated. And that's just the way that it's always been. But they are not out there intending to run into contact high or go into a tackle too high and then get into that situation where there's possible head contact. It just happens. A player steps, a player falls, a player gets tackled, gets into your zone. A player that you're looking at jackling the ball, he was in a position that you could get him, and then he drops lower, and all of a sudden you've got it wrong in a millisecond. So what I'm trying to say is, all of those situations are not players trying to harm each other. They're just getting the collision slightly wrong. I feel that we need to take the red card out of rugby. It needs to be eliminated because we're not. That red card is for that act. What we need to do is, if we're going to have cards of this consistency, then it's a situation where the team gets penalised for 10 minutes, a yellow card, and then it goes on to a report system. Because these guys are getting punished after the game. They're getting punished in the game, and then they're getting punished when they go to discipline situations after game. 4 weeks, 6 weeks suspension. So they are paying for the crime eventually. But if we take the red card out of the game and go onto a report system where, well, you'll be going to judicial and good luck, then we eliminate the fact that you can have a player out of the game for 75 minutes, for 40 minutes, and we've got a one-sided contest. I just want to see the games not being affected the way they are, because we can't control, and the players obviously can't control what's happening out there anymore because it's just happening too consistently, and I don't think they're that stupid that we're regularly getting the amount of cards we're getting.
Marshy, I said that to you at the pub about like 4 to 6 weeks.
No, when we go to the pub, you don't remember what we talk about.
Marshy,
that's for sure.
Yeah,
that is Marshy. That is bang on. Like actually, the NRL very quickly. That's what they do, right? Like in their biggest game, State of Origin. Someone's had their head completely taken off, and they're like, report. We'll put them on report because you're so right. They're getting, not only is the game suffering itself, but they're also getting punished later on. So leave it for the report. Yellow card. Oh, Marshy, you've just solved World Rugby. I'm sure I told you about that.
I've got one quick one, because then we have to do the World 15. I want you to name the forwards and Marshy to name the backs. But my quick one is one of the issues I've got is I want kids to be able to sit down and watch the game and not get bored. And there's too many long stoppages. Super Rugby nailed it this year.
Killed it.
What was it? 30 seconds. You've got to have that scrum set. You've got to have that line out set. You've got to keep the game moving. You can't stop. Someone goes down on a knee. You either replace him when he goes off, or you get free kicked. And we just keep going, because if you've got a kid sitting there watching it on TV, and there's a pause, and someone's getting a drink bottle, and someone's having a drink, and everyone's just sitting around in a circle, and we're waiting for the next play, and which happens in every test match, they just fuck off. They'll go outside and kick a ball themselves. They're gone. You're losing them. So we could be losing a generation of people that are interested in the game but just get bored because of the stoppages. That's my little take on it. Let's go to the World 15. Unless you've got some more on that.
No. Exactly.
And you bring fatigue into the game.
No, exactly like how I just got lost in your conversation. 100%. Yep. Gotcha.
World 15, I want to hear your forwards and backs, lads. I want to see what you've got up your sleeves. The best, the most informed players.
So what we're talking about here is we're talking about this latter half of the season. We're not talking the Rugby Championship anymore. We're talking about what we've seen in the last 5 weeks of rugby. We are naming a side, so that, because the Warriors, the keyboard Warriors, are going to come at us for our side, but I want to make it very clear that we are naming a side, a form side of players that we have seen playing over the last 5 weeks, not over the calendar year, over the last 5 weeks.
I took a little bit of the calendar year too. Sorry, for me, I did it.
Well, that's only because you would go back to putting Australians.
He wanted to get
team
Will Skelton,
based
didn't
on
you?
what
I
you
only
saw
got one
earlier in the
Australian.
year.
I got one Australian.
You can't do that.
And you'll never pick who it is. You'll never pick him.
Oh, for God's sake. Okay.
Oh, I
let's
bet
go.
you I could. I bet he plays in the loose forwards.
No, it's not Harry Wilson, mate. Stop it. Okay.
JP, take it away, mate.
It wasn't actually very hard in the front row, really, when you've got the world player of the year, like in terms of the hooker, right? Malcolm Marx. What a absolute beast! What a season! And it's continued that form. Like, it's late in the year for the big man, and it's just been enormous. Like, has taken opportunities with regards to try scoring. Look, I don't care what anyone thinks how easy it is to be on the back of a maul, but it's actually incredibly difficult when to make a decision, when to go. And just his accuracy around the field, I thought he was just incredible, immense. I put loose head, I put Genge, because I just think Genge has been awesome this year. Sorry, I thought it was a little bit of Lions stuff as well, because he should have started every game for the Lions. I thought he was awesome. And what he's done for the English side this year, he's come off the bench, but he is a starter all day, every day. And then Thomas Tutoit. This guy is an animal.
I'm so glad you put him in there.
Mate, I put him in my championship side because, mate, he destroyed that Irish game.
He's been unbelievable. And I know we're only picking the last 5 weeks, but
Mate, he's been enormous.
But he has been phenomenal the whole year.
Mate, did you see him do that little jackal at the start of the game too? Like in the 8th minute, did this perfect over the body. But his scrum, to be able to have a scrum that dominant, mate, where you literally could just shut down. And what happens, right, from a scrum that point of view, everyone's got to stay on it. So it opens up the entire back line. They're just, wow, what an absolute machine. Look,
the only reason he isn't down for World Player of the Year officially would have been because they had Malcolm Marx and Ox.
Oh, that Ox
already. They can't just name a whole front row.
I probably would have put Ox there too if he was playing too, if he wasn't injured. But look, I just thought Genge doesn't get the recognition he deserves. In my second row, I had to put Fabian Holland. I thought his season this year was extraordinary. I thought as a second rower, look, he was up against guys like Henry Pollock and also Joseph Akuso-Ali for the rookie of the year, so to speak. But his performance against a top tier side like in Ireland, where he was man of the match in Chicago, just I thought for me cemented this kid as a genuine player.
The most line-out takes in World Rugby and Test matches this year.
Line-out takes. I think it was more his work rate around the field. I just thought he had a presence. He had a real presence around the field. Look, I put Targ Byrne in at second row. Look, he likes to play in the back row, but I really like that option of a fourth back rower, particularly with the back row that I've chosen in terms of Peter Stiff-Toit, Fraser McBride and Artie Sevilla. Whew! I can't go. Look, I cannot go past like Fraser McRide at 7. I think he is. I've been saying this for a long time now. The guy has kept Australia in multiple games. Like he is averaging 3 to 4 jackals a game in key times. Though we're not talking about like he's just jackling and he's just stealing the ball. He's actually doing them at very, very pivotal times in the game. Then you have Artie Sevilla. Look, you just cannot leave that guy out of a side. Like, I mean, like seriously, he has to be in a... And then Peter Steph-Toit, I mean, the guys will go down, I think, as the GOAT. Like, I think he may be, like, again, up nominated for World Rugby Player of the Year and potentially should have won it as well. So it could have been number 3 for him. And I think he's going to be... I think he is going to be the GOAT when he retires. Like, I think Richie McCaw, look, one of the great players, Dan Carter, but I'm really sorry. I think there's a very big debate for Peter Steph-Toit to be the GOAT of all time.
You're really trying to get on the South African trip, aren't you?
No, I'm just like, no. I've just become an incredibly huge fan over this last couple of years where, look, I've always known he's been an incredibly huge part of the box side, but you know, I've really watched him closely over the last 2 years, and his contributions to the side is extraordinary. Like in his game awareness, his understanding of where to be, how much impact he has in a game. I love your word, Marshy. He's industrious. Always 80 minutes of just being industrious. So those 3 guys, I just can't look. I looked at the French. I looked at the Irish back row as well. Look, there's a lot of hands could have put up there. But yeah, just those 3 guys. I would just love to, what beautiful balance between those 3 guys. A pilferer, hard ball running player, good line out jumper, defensive line out jumper instead of Peter Steph-Toit. Like it's just when you talk about a back row with balance, those 3 guys.
Marshy, have you got any questions about that forward pack?
Well, look, I knew to me it's a reasonably predictable back row that JP's picked because. He is a man that once he gets something in his mind, he will stick with that mindset. So, no, look, I feel obviously there's always going to be debate around, you know, when you're talking props like you are, that you could argue the likes of, say, Tamaiti Williams. You saw his power at the weekend, but again, he just hasn't had as many opportunities as some others. But no, I'm pretty happy with JP's forward pack. You know, like he's named it, he has to wear it. I'm not getting involved.
Mate, very mobile, would destroy any scrum. Incredible back row. Like we would deliver that ball on a platter for your back line, which you're probably going to get
good
death threats over anyway. So come on, let's go. What have we got?
Yeah, off the back of your exceptional forward pack that's going to lay that ball on a plate for me, JP, I've picked this back line. First of all, at halfback, some serious consideration here, but at the moment I just think Kolbe Reinach, a South African scrum half, is playing probably the form rugby that he's ever played in his life, and he's a threat with ball in hand. He's scoring tries, his kicking execution is near on perfection. He's an absolute threat. He's got energy across the board, and I just feel that the way that he's playing at the moment, he's super dangerous, and he's a big influence on how South Africa are playing because his game management is really, really good.
And also, what's a halfback doing with that much blood on his face? Like, he has been putting his head in some dark places. You just need to pick the ball up and pass it, mate. You don't need to be doing that.
He's also the only player that Rassie leaves on for longer than 70 minutes. Like, it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Like, the form that he's in. Yeah, Marshy, great selection, especially with guys like Cam Roygaard, right? Like, that have played exceptional footy this year.
Yeah, it's exactly, JP. And he was obviously the other consideration, but I just think Reinach is in the form of his life. And, Cam Roygaard probably hasn't had the volume of rugby that Reinach has. So he's got that for the consistency of performance as well. And like you say, he's playing big minutes. And I've teamed him up equally in the halves, so it's a combination thing to a degree as well with Sasha Feinberg and Gomazulu. I just feel that the way that he plays the game, the way that he sees it, the influence he has on a game, that talent, that skill set, he's just something out the gate that we haven't seen for quite a while. Like, obviously, honourable mentions to the likes of Finn Russell, but he only played 2 games over the autumns, and George Ford, his composure and the way that he played as well. But when you have to sort of select a side and a backline that's going to function behind JP's platform, I just feel that Sasha Feinberg and Gomazulu is that guy. The midfield is an interesting one for me because across the board there's not been massive consistency in selection, apart from probably Australia, but Australia have struggled. And we haven't seen the best of the likes of Iki Tau and Sua'ali'i because of that. So I've gone for Ollie Lawrence from England. I just feel that the way that he plays,
Yes, I
the
love
influence
that.
he has on a game, like against the All Blacks, he was absolutely outstanding, and that's not easy. The All Blacks do defend well, and he exposed us quite a few times. He's been a consistent performer as well, and I just feel that outside him, Gomazulu, he would be, an amazingly different player to have a guy like that inside him with the magic he could create. So he's teamed up in the midfield. This is going to be controversial selection, but I just feel that Lester Whainganuku, he showed it at the weekend as well with his outside break that led to Caleb Clark's second try, and his performance against Ireland in Chicago, where he was setting up the likes of Will Jordan and co. He's just got power, he's got work rate, he's got energy in that jersey, and he commands attention. Like, when he carries the ball, he's got players sweating all over him. Like, obviously there's some other midfielders around that are worthy of mentions, but I just feel that him and my backline, he complements the rest of the players and enables, in particular, my back three, which I'm about to name now, to function in the way that they can. And that back three on the wings and on the left wing is Louis Belberry, the French flyer.
Easy choice.
And look, he's an easy choice, but also because of who I'm putting on the other wing, I had to make a decision between him and Cheslin Kolbe. And as you know, it's very hard for me to leave Cheslin Kolbe out of my side. But
No,
this
you
is leading
haven't.
on to the fact that I have done that. But that shows how well Belberry is playing. He is, honestly, his footwork, his speed, his knack for being in the right place at the right time. He's great under the in the air. He's combative, and he's just got a finishing quality that is equal to the likes of Cheslin Kolbe, and he's in magnificent form right now. So I've selected him on the left wing, and also it's to satisfy the French keyboard warriors because they love him. Crap, so you've got a player in my back line. On the other wing, Manny Fei-Waboso, the English right winger.
Yes.
I just love the way he plays. I feel that the form that he's in at the moment, and he showed it in the game against Argentina as well. He opened up the All Blacks a few times again in that game a couple of weeks ago. He's great in the air. He gets up and he fights for the aerial contest. He's got great footwork. He beats defenders all the time. And obviously England being arguably alongside South Africa the form team in the world at the moment, he's justifiably fitting into my backline, I feel. And I can't go away from just obviously the X factor of Will Jordan. Like, I feel in an All Black team that's been like fluctuating in form, he's never faltered. He scored a try against England, scored a try against Ireland, against Wales he got put onto the wing and just adjusted to that magnificently. He was huge in the air. His cover that he does, either at fullback or at wing, I just feel that he's just the absolute. You can guarantee on him putting in an X factor performance every time he pulls on the jersey. So he's my fullback. There you go. That's my back line. I'd love to see that back line behind that forward pack of yours, JP, and that's my form back line of.
I'm a little bit shook.
Mate,
I'm a bit shook that there's no
Shook?
Cheslin Kolbe in there. I'm as shook. I am shaken.
No. When you look, it's a flip of a coin, though. Really, like
Cheslin Kolbe.
Well, no. You've got that French winger. Did you see that finish he did against the Wallabies where he chipped off his left foot, off his left, regathered, in and away, scored. He set up. He was a part of 4 tries on the weekend, either try assist or scoring them himself.
So we're saying Belberry is better than Cheslin Kolbe at the moment.
I'm not. I am saying that this was a real tough decision for me to make, which goes to show that Louis Belberry is in the form of his life to be able to be, by a millimetre, selected in front of Cheslin Kolbe, for me.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow,
look,
wow,
and that 9-10 too, like that 9-10 combination, you got players. Like that Sasha just reminds me so much of Bernie Larkin, man. Like just that natural instinct of running, attacking, just gliding through the line, like it just wow. Yeah, every time he touches the ball, Sasha, I get excited. Like I love watching him play. Just worship watching him play.
Yeah, and I just want to add as well, I think we have to reward consistency of performance. And when a team like England are playing the way that they are and on a winning run like no other, I think that's the 14th test or 13th test, something like that they've won on the bounce at Twickenham. They are in some sort of form at the moment, and justifiably, then they have, because of that consistency, they have to have players that are involved in that team that are enabling them to achieve those results.
This time next year, we will be going into the final of the Nations Champions Cup. That'll be this weekend. We will be previewing when we come back next season. This particular podcast will be previewing the final. If it was this year, the Nations Cup final would have been between South Africa and England. Who would have won that?
Oh, South Africa, mate. South Africa
At Twickenham.
Absolutely, South Africa. I don't think there's a side on the planet at the moment that can beat South Africa.
I agree, but I would also like to put in the wind that there would be a contest. I feel that this England side would push them. I don't think they have the firepower necessarily at the moment right now to beat South Africa if it was to be played today. But given another year under Steve Borthwick's guidance and the continued growth of this England side, if that final was to be played at the end of next year, which it could very possibly happen with this Nations Cup, then they would have even more of a chance. But I agree with JP. Right now, I'd say South Africa would win that game, but not by many points.
Marshy, thank you very much for coming on, mate. Enjoy Christmas. Enjoy the New Year. Enjoy South Africa because you're going over there shortly. And
I am.
Same to you, JP. Thanks for flying over.
Yes. No, appreciate it. No, boys, what a season. What a year. And can't wait to get on that junket for the South African-New Zealand tour.
Yeah, isn't it incredible that the rugby calendar is done for the Southern Hemisphere? Like, it seems to have gone like a whirlwind this year. Had this Super Rugby with the new laws, like you mentioned, the Australian teams losing a team. We ripped through that. And then we had this really interesting Rugby Championship. And now the autumns, and we're done. And we are leading into 2026 with an incredibly exciting calendar, like Super Rugby again, and then this Nations Cup, the All Blacks' greatest rivalry tour to South Africa, all culminating in an autumn series that then has a finale of the two best teams from the Southern and Northern Hemisphere playing off in a final at Twickenham. Like, how good's 2026 going to be? I can't wait, honestly.
Thank you very much for watching or listening, and a massive thank you, lads, to Harvey, Norman. How good. We're so lucky to have them on board. They've made this whole podcast happen. Thank you so much, Harvey Norman. They've got a huge range of next-gen AI PCs. You've heard it before. The top brands in the world, Microsoft, HP, Lenovo, Acer, and Asus, all powered by the amazing Snapdragon. Enjoy your ruggers this weekend. There is no ruggers this weekend. Fuck. What are you going to do?
No more ruggers.
No more ruggers.
Ruggers is finished in the Southern Hemisphere. No more ruggers.
I got to sleep.
There is. There's more ruggers.
Oh, shit.
There's more ruggers. Wales are playing South Africa without 10 of their best players.
This weekend, Jesus.
10 of their best players are having to go back and play in the Premiership because it's outside of the international window. Just when you thought things had turned the corner, you got to face that. The best team in the world, playing the 12th team on the world with 10 of their players missing. I feel for them. Good luck, Wales. in your ruggers.